So whether you have launched a digital product or flopped a digital product, I am going to be pulling the curtain behind my business and showing you exactly what it has been like on my journey over the last 10 years to build a digital product business, but get real serious in the last 5 years and build out a multi-digital product business. And so if that's something that you're interested in, stay tapped in. Hey, grateful day, y'all. So while I'm on my way once a month to a juvenile facility, I decided to do another car chit chat. It's been a while because I've kind of mixed these into some vlogs. And so it is digital product season. This is around the time of year where I pull the curtain like to the side and I really give y'all a deep dive into the digital product world, even though I talk about it throughout the year. And so I'm going to be answering some questions while I'm driving. So got to keep my eye on the road. I glance over to y'all when I'm at a stoplight or something. But I want to answer some questions that have come through in our community from our clients at live events and also on social media and on YouTube. So not in any particular order. One question that comes up a lot is, can I share my very first digital product? And so it's always hard for me to answer that question because, I've had, email marketing opt-ins, but if I'm looking at what I do now, right? Because I've switched gears in terms of what I do for even like coaching and mentorship, is from what I do now with the majority of my business, focusing on service providers and either building out a solo private practice, group practice, or digital products and other scalable streams of income. My very first digital product was more of a masterclass. And so most people, their first digital product nowadays is an ebook, a guide, something that they can create once and sell it over and over again. And technically you can do the same thing for a masterclass, but I was doing something in that season and in the current season as well, based off where my alignment fell. And so I was always a big component of going live. And I find that even when I'm recording this video, talking to you right now, I talk to you as though you're sitting in the car with me so that it feels more conversational, because I find that when it's like too uptight talking head video, ain't nothing wrong with those. But when I'm in my office in front of the computer screen behind the microphone, sometimes it feels like I got to get straight to the point and I can't like help y'all feel the connection and emotion even behind like the numbers that I share. Because it shouldn't just be that you just want to know, I hope, how much money she made, but more so what was the process behind it, right? So in that season, just to kind of tell my business age, is I had been on live on Periscope. I was part of that first batch when Facebook Live first came out. I was clearly definitely on the bandwagon when Instagram Live came out and all these things. And back then it was IGTV, it was no reels. And I just thought to myself, it's easy for me to connect with people when I can just press record. I don't have to do any edits. That was the biggest thing. Even though I can edit my own videos, I just didn't want to. I didn't also have the capacity to sit down and learn it the way that I even know it now. And I'm still at a basic level when it comes down to video editing to me. And so, I hit the mic, sorry, to me. And so I started doing these master classes, and the master classes were based off of my live streams. And so my live streams were based on what had happened that week in my private practice, not disclosing people's information, but more so talking about like relationship stuff, because I was doing a lot of couples counseling and I was also writing a book. And then after I published the book, it just made it make more sense that was an easy way for me to push sales to my book, for me to go live and just have a conversation with people. And so as I started being more intentional with like the topics, I started charging for masterclasses. It would be like $19, $27. Did not know what I was doing with Facebook ads, would just like boost a post. Didn't realize that I didn't know how to target the right audience. Like there was so much that went wrong, but I wouldn't take it back for anything in the world, because it is always a learning curve when you're learning something new, especially without mentorship. Now, at the time of me going live, I did have a coach. I was actually in a mastermind. There was no one-on-one, but they knew our names. Like, it's immaculate, like how good this dude's memories was. And he had like 400 people in the room. However, During that time, his mastermind was solely focused on, which is a good thing, marketing. I think that was a great way to introduce me to business beyond like private practice and services. And it was other mostly speakers and coaches in the room. And at that time, that's when I was first being introduced to like life coaching, because I had never honestly really heard of it. And so while we were in there, it helped me physically write my first book. And then it started helping me see how I can use my voice to market. And then I got so comfortable with it. And then organically people started asking like, well, oh, you got a private practice. Oh, you wrote a book. Oh, can you come speak on the topic of your book? So you can see how, and my clients know this, like one stream of income, or I would say like one level of your brand can have different legs to the stool per se, right? So my brand at that time, a part of it, because I had two parts of my brand. So let's just say my brand was psychologist. Underneath the legs of the stool, the legs, one leg may be I'm a psychologist, but I'm the difficult teen lady, and I'm the lady that focuses on mature conversations in relationships before or after you get married, but ideally before. That's what I was known for, right? In the mental health field, those two big areas. Over time, difficult teens branched into workshops and online courses for independent living skills, for transitional age youth, and of course, therapy and groups and trainings and schools. And then the couples kind of turned into the same thing, but I was doing more retreat style in terms of me being invited. However, let's get back to the launch stuff, right? All this stuff was going on while I was doing these master classes, and that was part of my digital product journey. It was not a guide, it was a master class. And I was doing that for about 2 years. I started that, I think, the year before I got married. So in 2014, that's when I started learning about marketing. And then around 2014-15 is when I started getting into, what is an ebook? What is a guide? What is email marketing? And all these things. And so to make a long story short, for 4 years, for 4 years, I was just showing up and charging to go live. And then sometimes it will be for free. But I hope that you can also see how simple I'm even making it seem, because I made it simple on my end. So I did not make it complex. I didn't have no webinar platform. I was going live stream. I wasn't even doing YouTube live stream. I was doing Zoom, right? I was paying $14.99 anyway just to have it in my business. So why not use it? You know what I'm saying? So I had a processor. I don't even remember what I was doing. I think I was doing like PayPal here. Like they give you a URL and you can change the end of the URL to the price. So I can put like Dr. TK, PayPal me 27, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the URL is. But that's how I was getting paid. And of course, I made sure that it was legit. I made sure the money was going to my business bank account, all those things. And so I know that was a lot, but I just want to also share with you behind the scenes of when someone says that they have multiple streams of income, it don't mean that all the streams of income turn off just because you launch in one. You got to multitask, technically. So the next question is the juicy one. And I'll be loving when they ask me these questions. When y'all ask me these, I'm like, bring it through and be specific. So someone had asked in general, can you speak about a flopped launch and what did you learn? Like what happened and what did you learn? So here's the thing, disclaimer. I don't believe that any launch has flopped. So this is going to be my educational piece to you. I don't believe that any launch is a flop. I do believe that if a launch does not perform in a way that you desired in your goals that you set up for the launch, then you can learn something. But if I made no sales, got no clients, got no customers, got no webinar signups, whatever the case may be, didn't get no traction to my page, I still learned something. I learned that maybe I didn't market on a consistent basis. I learned that I got in front of the wrong people. I may have learned that the price point was, there's been occasions where my price point actually was too low because my language was speaking to, what we say now, like premium therapists, but my offer wasn't supporting premium therapist investments. So it looked too good to be true. And people get skeptical when sometimes you charge too low. Like that sounds crazy, but some entrepreneurs are trying their hardest to make stuff cheap and accessible, when in reality, some of y'all are very much so like a boutique business. You should be charging premium dollar. And so even though someone or people have used the word flopped, I think what they're saying is, have I had a launch that did not meet the expectations that I desired, and or did I have launches that turned out to be $0? And I've had plenty. So when I first started getting into online courses, it did not happen in my masterclass, but it did happen in my very first self-paced course. I was in another coaching program and they were teaching us how to get our time back. And so they said, for me, because I like to teach, I was a professor and I can put together some slides in a minute. They said, find a topic you are excited about. And then I want you to go record a video. So they didn't teach like webinars or anything like that. So I recorded the video. One person bought it and I knew the person and it was like under $30. And the person said it was good. So I just felt like, okay, well, at least I know it's viable. Viable means that it made money. And so I tried to sell that course a couple of more times. It didn't do anything. And what I realized is the topic itself, even though I love the topic with how I can apply it to me, it wasn't a topic that I would personally like to teach, but it is a topic that I like to learn about and implement in my personal life and in my business life. It was on business manifestation kind of thing, right? But that was the season I was in, is like learning how to like seriously manifest. So I wanted to share what I was learning, and the people the person who had like watched it, they were like, dang, it's like super good, whatever. So I was like, all right, bet. So that's when I started like just more going toward, all right, what do I do on a daily basis? What comes easy to me in that season? What am I doing on a consistent basis that I can talk about and not get tired of talking about it? And it was the clinical work that I was doing. But I also had to start paying attention to what were people asking me for. So I shifted from that to then seeking out someone who can teach me. At this point, I had already had 2 coaches. I was looking for someone who can teach me strategically how to build an online course with a framework, like step by step, because the first mentor, like I said, was more like life coaching and speaking and general marketing, which was great, and systems and stuff a little bit. And then the second person was more manifestation in business, mindset, expansion in my mindset. They did definitely teach me email marketing. They definitely hyper focused on brand awareness and all those things. But you feel like something is missing. And sometimes you feel like something is missing and it's not. You're just not applying what you're learning. So I will say that. So I stumbled across somebody's Facebook ad and I went ahead and signed up for the free webinar and I was sold. I'm like, I had just went into maternity leave, and I think my son was, I don't know, like 2 to 3 months, I believe. And so I bought the online course, paid for it in full. It was $19.97. So also logistically, to break down like some of this stuff, because it's going to lead into somebody's question later, so I might as well create breadcrumbs right now, is my first coaching program with the guy was $2,500 for a year, and we got four 2-day in-person live masterminds with like 500 plus people. And then we also got quarterly, so we had 8 meetups total, quarterly 2-day masterminds just with the people in the mastermind that may have still been like 150, right? So it was definitely not intimate whatsoever, but he still made it feel intimate. It was crazy. And so that was $2,500. And I did that program for 3 years, maybe 4. And then I think at some point he ended up giving us like a lower rate because it was just more so showing up and he just kept getting more and more people. So I got kind of grandfathered in. Then the second person, the first program that was more just self-paced, no interaction, was $1,000. And then I had actually launched a digital book, but I didn't sell it. It was a digital product, but I didn't sell it, because I realized that it should have just been used in the clinical therapy room, not that I should sell it to human beings that may open up a Pandora's box to process what they probably should be talking to a provider about, right? So I did really good in that, $1,000. Then, but I knew joining the $1,000 program that I would desire to be in the 24K program. That is her mastermind. But when I did the intake per se with her team, I realized, and I want y'all to hear this for those of you who may come to me and do a consultation, and then I say, you probably want to focus on this first before you go over here, because I'm looking out for your best interest. I don't want you to go to the highest level of coaching with me and you don't even know how to be coached. You don't know how to ask questions. You don't know how to show up with your work. You haven't even attempted to do anything on your own. I have to, well, I'm not, but some people like require me to teach them what should have been learned on the middle level, not the highest level. And so that's what consultations are for. So when I did the consultation, they told me I would be a better fit for the second tier, not the third tier. So the second tier is $10K for 10 months or 9 months. And we got 3 live events because she was doing live events on a tour. And the live events were 2 days in total. The first day was our mastermind. And the second day was the live tour with the public in that city, where we went to New York, Atlanta, LA, and Orlando. So it was 4. So that was cool. Learned a lot in that program, was part of that mastermind for probably 5 years. I'm still connected to that mentor, but definitely in her system. And then right after the 10K, I went into 24K for 3 years straight. 24K, 3 years straight. And your girl was, with all this stuff combined, I was killing it on the clinical side, mindset side, lifestyle side, first class living. Like, manifestation took a whole nother level in my life. And that's where my abundance mindset, to me, was brought out. It had already existed, but I feel like in that season, looking back, I needed to be in a room with people who brought that out of me. And that's why I tell my clients, like, a lot of the things that you desire to have, it's staring at you right in the face, but you don't know how to access it. You probably need that person to cheer you on. And sometimes you need to pay to be in a room just so that it can come out. You can unleash her, you can unleash him, you feel me? And so when I joined that third program, it was no mastermind. It was just straight up a course. And then she did live calls. I participated. She got to know my work. This young woman, I was part of her first $1 million. Then she went on like 3 years later to earn 20 million from that one course. I said, and she had launched other things, but I'm like, oh my God. I was part of her beta, like $1 million run. I was part of her beta study. I can still find myself in her core shell. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like so 2018, right? And so it is so cool though to know that I'm also part of somebody's journey. And so her course helped me put some structure behind what most people now know as the DTA program. But DTA still wasn't birthed there. So going into the flopped language, right? She gave us a sales script. She taught us how to get people on the phone just to talk to people to basically sell our program. Got on a phone call with multiple therapists across the United States. Everybody was so interested in being part of my beta launch and all these things. When it came down to the investment, and the investment was nowhere near where it is now, it was like, let me talk. No, it was just like all these things. And even though I had learned sales strategy, I'm not perfect now, right? And it just was not working. And so I'm like, they need to see my face. And I find that when I go live, I'm good. So I started then practicing her webinar launch, because she had taught that as well. And that's where I got my first 4 clients. And it wasn't for the first program that I had launched. It was for a program. What I did is it's real good to listen to people. When I was interviewing people, I started paying attention to trends. And the trends were telling me, even though they want a private practice or some type of mental health business at that time, they were not mentally ready to step into the zone of entrepreneurship, and they were literally standing in their own way. And that's still the story to today, okay? And so I created, and some of my DTA alumni were part of it, the Grind Setter Lifestyle course. I had Fiverr do me up some, some graphics and all. I had a whole launch for it. I launched a webinar multiple times, and I end up getting 4 people in the cohort. And I sold it for y'all, I think it was $500, or maybe it was $1,000. I don't remember. I feel like it was $500. And then one of those people ended up going into DTA when I finally opened it up. But what I'm saying is, the flop launch was not a flop, because if you heard my story, I just told you in recap, I started paying attention to what people's objectives were. And then I used it to my advantage to create the program that my clients were asking for indirectly at that time. And even though those people who had an interview with me were not the ones that signed up for the program, it made me ready to launch the next program, okay? I've had other, what y'all would consider maybe a flop, even in the last 12 months, and it's 2025. But some of the things that I've learned overall with launches that did not do well is, don't rush the process. Always, every year, throughout the year, your goal is to get in front of new people. Sorry, I had to readjust it. Get in front of new people. You should never get too comfortable, because the people on your list, at some point, not everybody has seen your stuff. Not everybody is in the same season of when they would want your stuff. But it doesn't mean that they won't eventually get your stuff. Some people, you may have been on my email list or on my Instagram page for 4 to 5 years before you even invested in something for free. You feel me? And so I learned that patience is of a virtue. I also learned that I should not be quiet in terms of my team with my goals, because if I don't declare what I want to attract what I want. I want to attract what I believe I deserve. And I learned that when I started dreaming big and saying, like, I want a 6-figure launch, I want a 7-figure business, it's crazy. It started happening way sooner than I anticipated. So that's my little spiel about what somebody may say is a flop launch, because I don't believe that nothing is flopped. Okay. All right. Moving on. The next question is, can I talk about a digital product launch that I've done during Black Friday? So I will tell y'all one of my funnest ones, because I was just so amazed at the outcome. So this was during the first year that I was launching the Elite. Well, it wasn't the first time, but the first time I went through with a full launch process. And by this time, I had also had another coaching course program that took it up a notch from that other course. And they had Lego instructions of how to build out 11 different digital products. And all I had to do was say, this is the type of digital product that I want, like a membership, a live event, etc. I go to the portal and it gives me an execution guide. So dope. So I still use that program to today. And when I launched that program, let me take you back a little bit. January of 2020. Okay, so I'm gonna take you through the whole year in like segments. So in January of 2020, I had not renewed with that coach that was doing city tours. And in my heart, at some point in the beginning of the year, literally I woke up and was like, I felt like God just said, you need to renew. You need to get in the room. You don't know what I have in store for you. I had already started off the year implementing a membership launch. And I had, my goal was to get 50 people in the cohort from like, execution guides from what I had learned from that coach. So I bought my ticket and I got to Orlando, Florida. And clearly we all know what happened in 2020, which means I'm so glad that I listened to my gut and got in that room, because when I rejoined and renewed again that mastermind, I kid you not, I was supposed to be in that room. I was supposed to be in that circle. Even though we could not do live events that year, when I tell you that everything fell into place like it should, it was like when it rains and pours. Everything that I had learned for the last 3 to 4 years just like came like hella fast and hard, to the point in another probably car chit chat or something, where it was a lot and I had fun. And I'm talking about levels of success, levels of money, but it very much came unexpected, kind of like lottery winners. Even though you're playing a lottery, you don't know when it's going to hit. And when it hits, you better have the systems to catch it. And granted, like I said, we did well. Nobody fell through the cracks, but it was hard. It was hard to go from $27,000 a year in a digital product business to 430 plus. You know what I'm saying? To then 600 and something plus cash collected every single year. That's how I earned like $1.8 million, like in 18 months, super quick. So fast forward, I joined that mastermind, and then in that mastermind, we get a VIP day. That is our only one-on-one. And I had chosen to do my VIP day in person. Okay. Now, she still allowed us to come to our home at that time. She doesn't do that anymore. So hers was more a part of like an abundance tour, a prosperity tour. She gave us a tour of our home, and so that our mind could be expanded, because she already knew me. Like my brain was just like, right. So what she told me to do is, her and her team, I had my VIP day, I don't know if it was like September or something like that, but I did a turnaround trip, because to me, this is what I mean by pay to be in a room. So I did a turnaround trip. I got a hotel like near her home or whatever. And I literally went home like in 2 days. I was there for a day and a half. So her team had said, now that you have a community, a membership, I had launched my private practice program like 7 times at that point. Unexpectedly, was supposed to launch it twice. But because of 2020, a lot of therapists were looking for help in their business. So things were just like moving along. But I had told them I've had an urge for years to have a more intimate environment with higher level business entrepreneurs that are also therapists. But I don't know how to get them to see the one-on-one accessibility and higher level conversations is beyond what they can probably imagine and fathom. And so in this VIP day, we had built out my Black Friday funnel. And one of the, I had a couple of items, but like digital products, but one of the main items was, she said, you know, if since you go live, you are already going to do a webinar, let's make it paid. Now that was very new to me because all my lives were typically free and then people invest in my program. So one of the things that I learned, and this is something to take into consideration, is they said if you have a higher tier product like $12, $15, $18,000, over $10,000, I mean, hell, sometimes over 3,000, you want to interview people, but you want to weed out people who are not your people. There are way more people seeking for free stuff than there are people who are willing to invest to get the information and be connected. I said, you're right. So I made the one day, 90 minutes, 6 o'clock at night Pacific Standard Time. We chose 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because she said your clients probably are working at their jobs, at their private practice. At least that's what I told her was the pain points too. And, you know, some people are going to say, oh, I'm feeding my kid, I'm putting my kid to sleep. So she was like, let's do 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time because that's a good time for you to perform. And then 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time so that East Coast people ain't got no excuses like your kid should be asleep, you know, at this point. So I did it for an hour and a half, $97. And it was on grow versus scale. No CEs, just what is grow versus scale. Now, before that, before I had the webinar in November, I was selling tickets during Black Friday. I had a live event in Vegas. And I remember one person who ended up becoming my client out of this Black Friday special, they had noticed that I was in Vegas and they were like, I ain't never seen no therapist event like this in Vegas. I had my first VIP experience, which is an intimate event to expose therapists to the mastermind. So I hope you see the breadcrumbs. It was like we had a membership in the beginning of the year for therapists. Some of those therapists went into my private practice academy because they realized if I want to launch a digital product, my private practice needs to be in order, which is still something I teach today. And then in the membership that I had at that time, they were being exposed, though, to different streams of income. They were really pretty much like picking my brain every month, and they were getting CEs with some of the workshops that I did. Then I turned around in April of 2020 and said, I'm going to have an in-person event. I don't know if it's still going to go down. If it does not go down and it gets canceled, this is what we're going to do instead. But I need 12 therapists who want to meet with me, and I sold out that live event. That's how I knew, like, man, 2020 was it, right? So right after that, they were like, you on fire. Why don't you, since you already position your mastermind in that live event, why don't you also sell tickets for people to learn about growth versus scale who may not have been at the live event, or even to solidify people's decision at the live event to sign up for the mastermind? Bottom line is, I sold maybe $1,500 worth, so 15, 16 tickets for the $97, which is okay with me versus hundreds of people coming through a free Facebook ad and then everybody want to get the information for free and 10% or 3% hell of people convert, right? Like imagine you get 100 people to come to a webinar and 3 people convert. I'm blessed for the 3, but I want you to see the number with how many people just want free information, right? And so this is why we charge, so that we can only attract the people who actually want to freaking scale. So the young lady who had made the mention of on Instagram, like, hey, you in Vegas? Oh man, I didn't know you was having an event kind of thing. She was the one who joined my mastermind at over 12K from a 90-minute webinar. Damn! Like, talk about the glow up is real, okay? And so I was like, woo! And so then what made it better is those people who came to the live event, it was 6 out of the 12. It was 11. Sorry, not 12. It was 11. 6 out of the 11 that were present, because we had rules and regulations for COVID at that time and stuff. Every single last person who came signed up for the mastermind. Then we tapped into some DTA alumni, our private practice academy, and some of the people who were supposed to be in the room, they all signed up. What I'm saying is, because remember I said just a minute ago, when I start dreaming big, when I start proclaiming what I wanted, a $97, which used to be free, webinar with 15 people who showed up, but other people are on my email list watching, like me move in a way that I'm moving that year. I had my first 6-figure launch from my mastermind. I didn't think that I would get a 6-figure launch there first. I thought my 6-figure launch would have come from the program that I actually can get more clients into, which is our private practice academy. And why I'm sharing this is sometimes we get frustrated because things aren't moving at the pace that you would like. and or it's not producing the numbers in the stream of income that you proclaimed on your sheet of paper or your vision board. But God has mysterious ways of showing up for you at times you least expect it. Of course, you're doing the work, but you told him what you wanted. And I'm just letting you know that was like the avalanche for me. But please note, I did plenty of work for 4 to 5 years before 2020 happened. Okay. So my launch was equivalent to, y'all, $168,000. Now, my clients did do payment plans. But another thing that I realized is that I actually like payment plans as long as you attracting the right people. Because instead of me getting all this money in bulk and then having to, you got to manage that money, right? It allowed me to have recurring revenue. And I was like, oh, this feel better. Like every month you get recurring revenue for showing up versus if you don't know how to manage your money and you blow all that money. I hope you wouldn't blow all that money, but some people do. If you blow all that money in January, then hell, you might start feeling like not wanting to do your job for 11 more months because you already got paid and the money is gone. It's like having a credit card, but you ain't got nothing to show for it, but you got to pay the credit card off, you know? So I generated $168,000, maybe more. I think it was 198. I think it was $198,000. That's what it was. That's what blew my mind because the day after, no, I think it was on Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving. I don't know, something happened where I ended up telling my mentor like what was about to happen because I'd already had some people say yes to the mastermind. And basically by Christmas, what I had desired previously had like almost doubled. So imagine you say you want a 6-figure launch, but God gives you 2 in one sitting, right? So that's an example of a Black Friday that I just love to share because it's like, you just get the rewards when you least expect it. All right, next question is, can you talk to me about a beta launch? And so this kind of overlaps with everything I've shared, so this answer will be fairly quick. So I'll give you the example going back to that membership because I already just gave you the example of the beta launch for the mastermind. So the beta launch for the membership was as follows, and there's multiple ways you can launch a membership. So what I did, it was called the football method from my coach. Basically, somebody pays $1 for a trial. So it's like a trial period. You can charge whatever you want. And then after the trial, you can make it 7 days, 14 days, 30 days. It then goes to regular price. But those people who are the first batch to come in during the regular beta launch open enrollment period, that's like your trial run. Those are the people who get grandfathered into that price, meaning as long as they stay, that was my rule. As long as you stay active, you stay in for whatever the price was. And it was crazy cheap, like $22, right? It went up to $49 at some point, like in stages. And so again, when it rains, it pours. And remember, this is around a time where I woke up that day and said, I'm gonna join this mastermind again. I'm gonna go to Orlando. Let me buy my ticket. And the event, y'all, was like in 2 to 3 weeks. So what I end up doing is I followed the process from my coach. Like, so I am a person who if I have a course, I'm gonna use the course. Like, y'all need to use your investment that you're paying for, right? Please. So I followed the instructions step by step, and I said, I want 50 people. Do you know, when I say that room was right on time, I was sitting in the front row. We were at the mastermind day, not the live event day. And as they're telling us social media strategies, I'm actually doing it on my phone. I like to work in the room. I don't know about y'all. Like, yeah, I work when I go to my hotel room, but I like to work in the moment. This is a working theory here, okay? So I have my laptop, iPad, notepad, highlighters. Like, girl, I'm organized. And so my goal was to hit 50. Before lunch, I was at 53. And I was like, woo! And my coach was like, TK, because this is an intimate room. She was like, what's going on? I'm like, I just got my 53rd person. She said, 53rd for what? And then I told them, I said, my goal was to get 50 by the time I got home. And I just hit 53. And I said, do you know what got me to 53? One of the coaches it was 2 people. One of the coaches had got up on the stage. I went and posted it like right there. I didn't do no music or nothing. It was just like, I don't know what kind of static post back then. It wasn't no video. I posted, did my marketing messaging, told people what to do. There wasn't no automation, mini chat, nothing. Like, click the link in my bio, whatever the words are, whatever. And people did it and people paid. Now, was it $1 to get in? Yes, but people had seen that dollar offer floating around for weeks and they didn't do anything, right? And so it just shows the power of following your heart. And so the beta launch went off without a hitch. And the one thing that I do love about That beta launch is with memberships, you have to take into consideration that you're going to lose people throughout the membership because some people are going to opt out. Well, within like the first renewal period, we lost 3 people. I was still at 50. By the 6th month, we had about 40 to 45 members, which was still good. And some were new, some were paying above whatever the first clearly rate was. And then the bonus that I did that year and the year after with some other coaching programs is that I added CEs. So because they were part of the membership, it was automatic that they can come to the CE workshop. But if they wanted to claim the APA CEs at the time, as long as they're there live, they would just pay the membership rate, like an additional rate, of course, to get their CEs, which was pretty much discounted, versus someone who may come from the outside may pay $149. And all of my CEs are business based, except for one that is motivational interviewing, but it's still business based. And so let me know, how did you like me breaking down some behind the scene questions about digital product launches that I've had, lessons learned that I've had, even being able to share like some of the monetary wins that I've experienced, because I've learned a lot, I've been through a lot, but sometimes, of course I like to share like behind the scenes story, like always, that's just been a part of me and my brand, because I find that from the outside looking in, people know it takes work. I don't want to minimize that you think it don't take work to build out like a digital product business. But I think what happens is it's minimized of how much work it actually takes and how many steps there are to launching a digital product versus just putting your product out there. So, all right, y'all, I am almost 30 minutes out from the juvenile facility. I will talk to y'all later. And probably car chit chat, live stream. I don't know. We'll see what's coming next. I just kind of go with the flow with some of my content because of what's on my heart. So I will talk to y'all later. Have a great day. Subscribe to the podcast, to the YouTube channel, like this video, and let me know what was your biggest takeaway in the comment box and or if you have any questions. All right, bye.